Okay, let's call this supply curve, the new one, S2, and this one, the old one before the tax was imposed, S1. So for S1, this is the equation. Now for S2, we still don't have an equation, so this is what we are going to do now. We are going to derive an equation that will describe this new supply curve. Okay, now before we go into the details of deriving, let's first intuitively think what we have to do to derive this supply curve, the supply equation, using this old supply equation, right? Realize that in the graph what we did, so to get to the new supply curve S2 from the old one, we added $2.40 to the price. Okay, so we have to do the same thing in deriving the equation. Okay, so would you go ahead and add the $2.40 here on the right hand side of this old supply equation? What do you think? The answer is no. The reason is this. So in this way, in the way this supply equation is expressed here, right, we have quantity on the left hand side and also a quantity on the right hand side as well, right? So if you are adding 240 on the right hand side of this equation, it would mean that you're adding the price of 240 to a quantity number, right? And it doesn't make sense. Okay, so to derive the new supply equation, you have to add the $2.40 to a price equation, not a quantity equation, right? So from this equation we have to derive a price equation, right? Or what we called it in the previous chapter, the inverse supply equation. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so there will be a new supply equation, right? And here we go to derive that equation. So if you write out the old supply equation, right, and solve for P, this is what you get, right? Q over 0.25 minus, so this is a minus sign, not a plus sign, 10.2 over 0.25. So this is the inverse supply equation before the tax was imposed. Okay, now after the tax is imposed, right, okay, the new price will be the old price plus the 240, right? That's what we did here. So the new price is the old price plus 240. Okay, so the right hand side will be exactly the same as before. The only difference is that we are now going to add 240 to it. Okay, now if you'd like to express this in the form of the regular supply, we have to solve for Q and bring it on the left hand side and put everything else on the right hand side. Okay, so to do that, what you can do is you can multiply both sides of this equation by 0.25, right, to get rid of these fractions. Okay, so that will give us this P, so 0.25 P equal to Q minus 10.2 plus 2.4 times 0.25. Okay, so now if you simplify and collect terms and solve for Q, meaning that you bring the Q on the left hand side, you're going to get this 9.6 plus 0.25 P. So this is our new supply equation, the S2. Okay, so the S2 equation, let me write it here, is Q equal to 9.6 plus 0.25 P. Okay, so if you now compare this one to the old one, right? The only difference is in the constant term, right? The coefficient with p, the variable p, remains the same, meaning that the slope will be the same as we have already seen in the graph. Okay, let me take you to the next slide, where we will now be thinking about the effect on the market because of this shift in the supply curve. Okay, let's first think about intuitively, right? What is going to happen intuitively? Okay, so if the supply curve is shifting left or up like it did in the previous slide, right, what do you think the effect will be on the market? Okay, so the price is going to go up, right, and the quantity of trade will be going down, right? Okay, let me redraw the two supply curves first. So we have S1, we have S2. Now let me bring in the demand curve so that we can analyze the market. This is the demand. Okay, the old supply curve is given by Q equal to 10.2 plus 0.25p. The new supply is given by Q equal to 9.6 plus 0.25p. The demand is given by Q equal to 15.6 minus 0.5p. Okay, so this is the old equilibrium. So this is the old equilibrium at the price of 720 and quantity of 12. Okay, now after the supply curve shifts to the left, the equilibrium is going to shift to the left along the demand curve to this point, right? So this is our new equilibrium point. Okay, so there will be a new equilibrium price and a new equilibrium quantity, right? And we know how to solve this, right? We have to set demand equal to the new supply. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to set demand equal to the new supply. The demand is 15.6 minus 0.5p. The new supply is 9.6 plus 0.25p. Okay, so we have only p in this equation, so we can collect p and solve for p, right? So if you do that, okay, this is what you are going to get. So you're going to get p equal to 8. Okay, so the new equilibrium price here is at $8. Okay, how about the quantity? Take this price of $8 and substitute either in the demand equation or the S2 equation, right? Either one is fine. Okay, and you are going to get 11.6. So this new equilibrium quantity is at 11.6. Okay, we are not done yet with this slide. There are a few more things that we'd like to talk about. Okay, think about this $8 price. Okay, so is this the price that the buyers are paying? Is this the price the sellers are actually enjoying? What do you think? Right, so this is the price that the buyers are paying to the sellers, right? But now we wonder, is this the price that the sellers are actually going to enjoy? Definitely not, right? Because in this example we are assuming that the sellers are responsible to set aside $2.40, right, for the government. Okay, so out of this $8 per unit price, the seller will set aside $2.40. So as a result, the price the sellers are actually going to enjoy will be $8 minus $2.40, right, which will be $5.60. Okay, so this is the price that the buyers pay. Okay, can we show the $5.60 price that the sellers are actually going to enjoy in this graph? Right, definitely we can, but is there an easy way to identify that price? Can you identify that price? Okay. The easiest way to identify that $5.60 price is by identifying this intersection point between this new equilibrium quantity and the old supply. The reason is, recall that the vertical distance between S1 and S2 at any quantity level, right, is exactly equal to 240, right? And since we are looking for 560, which is 240 less than $8, right? So this 560 is found at this point. Okay, so this distance, or this distance, right, is exactly equal to 240. Okay, it has to be. Okay, so this is the price the sellers actually get. Okay, so this is what's going to happen, right? So the buyers are going to pay $8, but the sellers are going to enjoy 560, and the $2.40 per unit of trade, right, which is the per unit of this much trading, will go to the government as tax. Okay, so you can see very easily that both parties are affected, right? Both the buyers and the sellers are affected, right? The buyers are affected because they are now paying a higher price. Before the tax they were paying $7.20, now they're paying $8. The sellers are affected because now they're getting a lower price. Previously they were getting $7.20 per unit of the good that they sold. Now they're getting only $5.60.